All right, and hello everyone. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me, the creator and producer of Anime in the Real World, Mark Eric Sebon, on the fourth episode of the series. This time we are going to go into the 1990s all the way up to about 2020. Although when I was recording most of this, it was still 2019, but we're going to just say 2020 for, just because. So again, thank you so much for everyone who is subscribed, who is following, and all the great emails. I actually got a lot of fun emails on this one because we're dealing with the 1980s through to today. A lot of people kept recommending or saying how their favorite animes came from this era, from either the 1990s or the 80s, especially like anyone from my generation. It was definitely the late 80s, early 90s. So it's cool saying, "Oh, yeah." Some of the emails were going, "Oh yes, I totally forgot about this email, this anime, and I remember watching it as a kid. Oh, this is so cool. Thank you so much." So that's really cool. That is really cool. I'm so glad that people are rediscovering and even discovering animes because of the documentary series. So that means I'm doing something right. So I'm very glad about that. So this is an interesting time during the 1990s to 2000s was the Japanese economic crisis. And I remember a little bit about it being a kid on the news. My mother would be watching the news, and of course, what's going on in Japan would come up on CNN or any news programs like that. But it's so sad and interesting that this crisis is still going on today in Japan. I mean, we have what is called the lost generations, people who are in their 30s going into their 40s who just were never able to get a leg up in the job market. And I just recently read another article. I think it was from Forbes that was talking about how this lost generation, who were kids during this time, are still trying to find their place. And we've here in the states we've experienced that. In the 80s was our big one, but again in 2008, moving a little bit forward, actually still to today, we had our economic crisis, and unfortunately it looks like we're about to go into another one. But what is so interesting is because of these issues, be it economy, be it social, political, whatever it is, it gives this opportunity for artists to express what they're feeling and what they think their peers and their countrymen are feeling as well. And you really saw that in the 90s. You saw all this innovation and all these classic anime series just started springing up. I mean, this right now, this is one of the greatest examples. Neon Genesis. This whole anime and manga series, I know people have wrote doctorates on it. It was just that complex, that important, and it is one of those animes that actually didn't just define a generation, it actually defined what anime is for everyone, for the Japanese, for the Americans, the Italians, the British, the Germans, it didn't matter. This series said everything that everyone was having issues with. And let's see, it's about to come up. So right here is Lake Ashi, just on the foots of Mount Fuji. Gorgeous lake. And when I was mapping out doing this documentary, I'm like, okay, Neon Genesis is going to be a pivotal point of one of the episodes. It actually kind of comes up in several episodes, but it was very pivotal at this time in this episode. So I plan it out. Okay, I'm going to go to Lake Ashi. It's really cool. It's a big vacation area. And for anyone who's going to produce a documentary, let me give you a tip again. And I know I've said this before. Let me tell you again. No matter how much planning you do, it's not going to be enough. I got to Lake Ashi, and it was probably about January 4th or 5th when I went over there for filming, and the place was swamped. I mean, it was just jam packed full of people. And again, this is a vacation area. This is like the Lake Tahoe of northern Japan. And it was just so slammed that the minute I got there, I looked at how many people I was going to spend like an hour just walking around the town, looking at everything because there's Neon Genesis stuff everywhere. There's the second store is there where you can get ice cream and everything's like labeled Neon Gen. It's like, oh, this is so cool. I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be so cool. I'm a fan. So all right, yeah. Well, that didn't happen because it was so packed. I thought, okay, I gotta get on the bus and I gotta get to the lake because the only way you get to the main station by the lake, you have to take a bus over to the lake, and that bus ride's about an hour. So okay, an hour bus ride, that's fine. Problem is, again, it was so packed that that bus ride to the lake took about 3 hours. So it's the winter season. You know, sun's going down. I've got to get these shots in, which actually, again, no matter how much planning you do, it's never going to be enough. Those shots and those talking head segments, talking head me in front of the camera discussing something, I cut completely. Like after it was done, while I was doing the editing, I looked at these and like, this isn't good enough. Let me just cut it and do a voiceover. So all that work was for nothing. But I finally got the shots done, and the sun was just it was going down as you see in the one clip of the lake. That sun is basically gone behind Mount Fuji. So I said, okay, let me go ahead. I've got all my recording done for the day. Let's go back to the main train station. Let's walk around the town and then get back to my hotel that's deep in Tokyo. So thinking I've got enough time. Okay, I'm planning. Okay, it's going to take about 3 hours to get back since it took 3 hours to get there. No, not even close. It took 6 hours to get from the lake over to the train station. Originally, what should have been an hour took 6 hours. It was that packed. Again, it was, I can definitely say it was my fault because I didn't plan enough. I think I should have just stayed there for at least an overnight. But there you go. There's tips for producing a documentary. No matter how much you plan again, and have many other you know B plans and C plans if anything goes wrong. But oh well, that it's the fun of production. Uh, I just I just remember being on the bus with everyone, and we're all just looking at each other, going, "Are we still here? Are we still on this bus? Oh no! Oh oh, this it's so weird that Pokemon, out of all the animes out there, is just still going so strong. They got that one right. And here we go, the second golden age. Now, this is not an official age by many experts. This is kind of because we're going through it right now. It seems like we are in a second golden age because of this, how much anime has been distributed around the world, how many more studios have grown, and how many more mangas and independent works are being picked up to produce into animes. It's exploded. It's completely exploded again. It reminds me of what it was during the 60s up until the end of the 80s. Uh, so I just looked over at the screen. Right at Toei Museum, they had the geeky cutouts, and they're like 3 foot tall cutouts of everyone. And I walked over to the museum. I was just gonna get a couple of shots, and I saw that. And I had like everyone walking past me, staring at me because I was laughing so hard. So as I'm saying, that this is definitely the second golden age of anime. Now here comes the issue, and this is going to be addressed in a future episode. After the series is done, I am going to do a couple more episodes. That because we've hit 2020, we've got COVID, we've got so many political issues with the Japanese Parliament, with the UN. What does anime look like in the future? Have we actually just ended the second golden age and have entered a new age? It's hard to tell because we're still within. This is still 2020. We are still within the first year of a new decade of and possibly a brand new era because there's so many right now there's so many outside sources influencing anime. It's kind of hard to tell really what the future is, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not because anime is Japanese, but now we've got so many other nations, putting their fingers into the anime pot. It doesn't seem like it's solely Japanese anymore, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not. And on one side, it's really not because the UN is getting involved in censorship. The Japanese Parliament's getting involved in censorship, which again, this is all going to be addressed in a future episode. This is 4, 5, 6, and 7 is going to address some of those issues. But because anime is open to the whole world, it is changing. It is absolutely 100% changing. So what is the future of anime is still up in the air because we've just entered this new decade and this possibly new era. Bottom line, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. What I want all of you to do who are listening to this, who's been watching the series, comment below or email me at animeintherealworld2020@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. How has this year, at least this year alone, affected your anime watching and your anime viewing and your manga reading? Have you noticed a change? Are you going for different things? Are you upset about some of the censorships that have been happening? Or are you just like, it doesn't really matter? Let me know. So please comment below, email me. Love to hear from you guys. As always, I love to hear from all of you. Again, I always say it, but thank you so much. Wow, we are already at the end. I'm always afraid I've got nothing to say during these. Always afraid of that, but apparently we do. And yes, this is me at Shibuya. This was my goal. This was my personal goal, to actually be in Shibuya, in the busiest spot in Tokyo on New Year's. It was so much fun and so weird. There were so many people that you could not stay in one location. The crowd would just move, and you had to move with it, or you're going to get tackled. So for the last hour of 2019, I'm just moving in circles with this crowd until finally everyone stopped, the show started, and 2020 began. And on that note, thank you so much for listening. I hope all of you have a great weekend, and you will get the newest episode, episode 5, next Friday. So please stay tuned. And again, thank you. And I will let you all go so you can enjoy the bloopers. Have a great, great time. Innovations didn't end there. I'm not trying again. But the innovations didn't end there. This is the era we got the first full feature length. But this is the era we got the first full feature length. Yeah. At this time, and it's no surprise. Don't say it like that. It's a change that's still with us today. It's features that. The beginning of the 1970s started with the same old rivalry. The same old rivalry led Mushe Production. The financial failure of those 3 movies led Mushe. March 3 movies led. Like America's Black Monday on the 19th of October.